Okay, so my plans for this week, I'm going to get this hillside completed with the Scenics, so that'll be the scatters, the base coat, the static grass and some light gorse, and then get some trees on there. So that's one of the things. I'm going to thoroughly test the Helix with some steam locos, just to make sure I'm comfortable that everything can get up, well, up, down obviously will be fine, but up. I'm also going to just look at trying to plan out the fiddle yard, just to see what room I've got, how many lines I can get in, and more importantly the cost associated with it. And I am also going to have a bit of time running the trains. I'm going to see if I can get all 5 lines running and capture a shot of all 5 trains at the same time, which will be interesting. I have also been thinking about other things I really want to get done this year. Obviously the fiddle yard will be great, but it's quite a costly thing. I'll look at all my locos, and not one of my steam locos has had any of the detailing packs added. It's something I've never got round to doing, so it might be nice to get on and get all those attached, all the steps and the brake pipes and everything else on there, the details. I know I talked last year about needing more figures on this layout because it looks deserted, but I weren't keen on the cheap stuff from China. And I know I got lots of suggestions of places you could go to get some more quality ones, but the thought of painting up my own figures, it don't do it for me. It really don't float my boat, that. So I guess I'm limited to pre-painted ones, which are going to cost a bit more. But you know, I've got to get some of those just to make it look a bit more realistic. Other things on this layout, I still haven't got any signalling on it. I haven't decided what type of signals I'm going to put on there yet. I don't think they will be fully electric and automated, but I do want some signals on. I haven't got any line side markers, so the speed signs or anything like that. Just those finer details that I really need to kind of bring some of it, you know, to life more. So there's lots of little things like that which I should be doing. Also, this area is the other one. I think I've talked around this a few times about what am I going to do with this. Obviously get rid of the coaches, but do I do an upper level, build it out, just so I can have a bit more of a housing scene on there, or a country lane with a pub. So there's lots to be done, but what I am finding is everything I want to be doing now is got quite a cost involved to it, so I've just got to really think about it and prioritise what I'm going to be doing. Obviously the one thing that doesn't cost anything is running the trains, which I should probably do more of. One of the other things I talked around several times last year was just the couplings on some of these older coaches, and just how the gaps look so unrealistic. Never got around to doing anything with that, so I really must have a look and just try and close these gaps up and get rid of some of these old fashioned couplings. So one of the things I have been doing is just playing around on AnyRail, seeing if I can work out a suitable use of the space under here for the fiddle yard. So I'll show you the initial plan I've come up with and just see what it's going to look like. I've been trying to draw, not to scale, but this is the area where the fiddle yard's going to be. So I've measured where all the supporting posts are and everything. So as you can probably see, these roller posts. Now, in my wisdom, when I built this framework 4 years ago, I thought it'd be great to stagger these posts so they're not in a straight line. That one's that side of a supporting beam, that's this side, that side. So it makes it a little bit more tricky trying to get some pieces of timber across to fasten everything to, but it's a bit late now to move everything around, so I'm going to go in, try and decipher this strange little plan I've done and see if I can transpose it onto AnyRail and just play around with that for a bit. Well, it's another fresh day, so I'm just sat inside while I've got the house to myself, just having a little play around on AnyRail. This is on my 15-year-old Dell, I think it is, computer, and it's running Windows 7, so it's just about at the end of its life and it takes an absolute age. But I'm just trying to have a play around to work out the space to get some lines in for the fiddle yard. Right, so that's my first attempt. This is the top baseboard, so I wanted obviously it all to be underneath. These are the support posts, all these blue bits, so I've had to try and make sure it don't clash with any of those. The biggest constraint has been this loop at this side. So there's the down line, it's got a loop round to join the up line to come back up. So I've been governed by that, and I've used a third radius curve there. But all it means is it slightly comes out by about 300 mil that way, and that's probably about 80 mil. So I don't know if that's going to be irritating, I'm going to keep knocking it, or whether it'll just be all right, that small little corner piece. That there in green, that is a radius 2, which obviously would fit much better, but I'm very loath to use radius 2. When you read all your locos and your coaches, they say minimum radius 3. Unless anybody knows different, but I don't probably think that's a wise idea. So to get as many lines as I can, because I'm governed by that, I've got some lines on the approach road and some lines on the exit one leading back up to the Helix. This blue line, this is kind of the loops. If I just wanted to send a train down to go around the loop and come back up, it'd follow this pink line, because that lane and that lane are the shortest and not really long enough to store anything. So I guess that made sense for it to run that way. I have used or put here Pico curve points. Now they, when you put those together, the radius is pretty similar to that there, which is radius 4. So there shouldn't be an issue. I've not used these short based ones before, but it just gives me more room to get longer lanes. So the longest lane there is 3.5 meters and the shortest one is 2.3. And then along here, that's just over 3 meters, and that one's 1.5. So it gives me 4 lines there, 5 lines there. Obviously, when it's down in place, I can probably tweak it a bit if I need to, but I just think with the space I've got, the only compromise is probably going to be that corner. But I don't know if it's too risky trying to put in a radius 2 curve. It does leave room maybe for some dead sidings if I needed them, maybe for some of the smaller units like the DMU and bits, but I don't really know if that's necessary and if it's just creating more track work when I probably don't need it. So when you use AnyRail, it does give you a list of all the track you're going to need. So when it's calculated everything I need for this, it's worked out that I'm going to need 40 lengths of flexible track, but I've already got the majority of this from that coach sidings that I'm reusing, so I think I'll get away with a box, full box 25. But when you start thinking about that, plus all the curve points I need and the other points I've not got, not taking into account the B18 point motors, the switches and everything else, it's getting quite expensive. I had a quick tally up, and just the track alone is probably going to be around £250 for the points and the track, and that's without the timber as well that I need. So It's going to be an expensive project, so I'm just going to have to see how I can get on with that really, and when I'm going to be able to get it done. Right, final word on the Helix then, and I suppose the acid test is whether the steamers can get up it. Totally different kettle of fish to the diesels, I know. So this is one of the Duchess, and it's got 6 coaches. So it's halfway and there's no sign of it slowing yet. So I think overall it's probably mainly a success. There's just a couple of my older locos steamers that do struggle. They do get up, but you can see them starting to spin out a little bit towards the top. But I can live with that. The whole idea of the fiddle yard is going to be storage for my rolling stock, really. So chances are it could be a case of sending a diesel down to bring up some new rolling stock, sending the diesel back to its TMD and bringing out the appropriate steam engine. So I'm not too fussed. Main thing is majority of all my locos do go up the Helix. I have just been and sorted out the wiring on this loop. As you know, the issue is forgetting that as the loop comes round, the outside suddenly switches to the inside. So it's all done and it's working now. I think this is going to give me some sleepless nights. I don't know if I can cope with black wires going into where the reds are. Just something I'm going to have to live with and get used to, I think. Right, I'm giving this a coat of brown paint. I've gone straight from the paper mache because it does feel much more solid than the original stuff, and I think it's because that out-of-date glue, I pretty much used it neat to water it down. So I thought by the time I've put a base coat of scatters and static grass, you're probably not going to see. So save a bit of time because that's took like 4 days to dry out, that has. I'm going to just speed ahead. I'm not sure if you can tell from this angle, but there is a bit of a dip there and it comes back up. I don't know if that's going to look a bit obvious. So I suppose one of the options I've got is I could use some of the DAS clay just to build this up, just so it looks a bit more level. Because if that was a big gully like that, naturally you'd have just a great water runoff down there. So I might just let that paint dry and build it up with some clay. Just been using a combination of old filler and DAS clay just to build that area up to get rid of that big like deep ravine. So it's not fully level, but I think it's taking out the majority of it. So as soon as it's dried, I'll get it painted and just have a look at getting it all blended in. I've been busy putting down the first layer of scatter on this hillside now. That's just the usual, it's all woodland Scenics, mixture of fine turfs and blended turfs. So I've used the soil, the weeds, the burnt, and then the blended turf as well. So I'm going to let that dry thoroughly, then I'll start to spray it just to get some more layers on. I can see just up there there's a definite visible difference, and that's because the original hillside at that end had some static grass. So I'm just going to have to look at how I can get that blended in. I've just been working on roughening this edge up a little bit, so I've just put some overspiller ballast, some soil colour fine turf, and then a bit of coarse turf, and I've just done the usual PVA, saturated it, and I'm just going to get this sealed in place before I start to do the rest of it. Just looked a bit too uniform and neat along there. So I think I'm going to make some more of this gorse bush now. Gorse bush even. That's using the polyfibre, and then just some coarse turfs and fine turfs. I just noticed how low I am getting though on my coarse turf. They're just about empty, and some of the fine turfs are, so that's something else I'm going to have to stock up on as well. That's one piece of gorse bush just quickly knocked together. Once it's on the layout, I can titivate it and add some more colour to it, but it just gives me the main cover in there. So I'll use the same again. I'll spray the that acrylic matte varnish on just to stick it down in place, and then start adding a few bits to it. Right, I do think it's slowly starting to take shape. Just been putting some patches down on top of the static grass, put a few trees in place. I have only got 4 trees left now, which clearly isn't going to be enough. So I'll have a look in my seafoam box, see what I've got left and whether I can make some more up. But slowly getting towards this area being finished. So I'm probably going to leave it there for now. I'll get this completed as best I can. I'm going to go away and just look at what back scenes are available. I'm thinking something similar to this, hills and trees, but maybe with not as much sky. So I'll go away and have a look. Hopefully next time we have a look at this, it'll be pretty much completed apart from the back scenes.